All right, guys, I do apologize for getting these slides and these videos out late, but hopefully you'll still have plenty of time to get your quizzes done before the break and be able to enjoy your break. Before we get started, just a reminder that on your quiz, the last question does talk about bonus words that are going to be embedded in each of these videos. Just to show that I'm not joking, the first bonus word is Bellevue. Bellevue. So this is the place that I stayed in a couple of weeks ago. This is in Washington, so you can look it up online how to spell that. So the first word in your quiz that or the first bonus word for your quiz is Bellevue. All right. This is lesson 21. We're looking at God chooses Israel. We're in unit 5. And remember, this is stuff that you already know, so we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. My plan is for each of these videos to be about 3 to 5 minutes long. Nothing new, nothing that you've never heard before, but let's just go ahead and get started with this. So, lesson 21 is talking about Israel becoming a nation. In Deuteronomy 7 and verse 7, it says, "The Lord did not set his love on you, nor choose you, because you are more in number than any other people, for you were the least of all peoples." God makes it very clear that he chose Israel. He chose Israel not because they were so strong, not because they were the most numerous, not because they were a pre made dynasty or empire that he could just put a stamp on and say, "These are my people." He chose them because of his promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God showed his power by making a relatively small family. You remember in Genesis 46 and verse 27, it says about 70 people came down from Canaan down into Egypt when there was the famine. This is when they go and they have to buy grain from Joseph, and Joseph reveals himself. And so they come down to Egypt, and God takes that small family and makes them a powerful nation. And so what we're trying to get at is everything that Israel became was because of God. So, one of the things that we talked about often in this class is that world history is not just, or biblical history rather, is not in a silo. This is happening while there are other things going on in the world. So, we're talking between the 16th and 9th century BC of Israel becoming a nation, and some other things that are going on in the world. The Shang dynasty is in power in China. The Hindu religion is growing in India or the Indus Valley. The Mycenaean civilization covers southern Greece. If you'll think back to your timeline song, I think it mentions the Mycenaeans, and so they were the precursors for the Greeks and the Macedonians. So that civilization is growing in southern Greece during this time. The Trojan War takes place, the war between Sparta and Greece, Macedonia, and Troy. This is the Trojan War, of course, made famous by Homer's Iliad and the Odyssey. This is during this time. Stonehenge, the big monuments in England, the big stone heads, those were already a landmark in England. And then the Mayans and the Olmecs, they were already becoming civilizations in Central America. So they're going to be some of the more powerful nations that you read about in Central America. They're becoming moving from tribes into cities, and so they're growing in power in Central America. After those 40 years, God calls him from the burning bush to go to Pharaoh. He says, "You're going to be the one that delivers his people." After the 10 plagues, Pharaoh finally relents. He lets the people go. And so then after that, we're kind of skipping over a little bit, but now we're talking about the chosen people and then their journey to the promised land. You remember that as soon as they crossed the Red Sea, the people just complained. It was constant bickering over food, water. They had no meat, all of this stuff. And so they just constantly whined and they complained. They finally get to Mount Sinai. God gives them his law. And in Exodus 32 is the story about the golden calf. I mean, 40 days after God has given Moses the Ten Commandments, the people are already disobeying. So just a constant rebellion on their part of not doing what God had said. Of course, we're skipping over the wandering the wilderness while they're having to wander, but Moses leads them to the promised land. But you'll remember he cannot enter himself because of his own disobedience. After that, we get to the period of Judges. Joshua leads the people to conquer most of the land, and so they drive out most of the people. And I'm emphasizing most because we know they didn't fully obey God's commands. A new generation arises that doesn't know God. And remember, the Judges is a cyclical time. There's a period of disobedience, God sends an oppressor, the people cry out, and so God delivers them. I like the way the book ties this in. It says the time of the judges show the unfaithfulness of Israel, the immorality that disobedience leads to, and the last two stories in Judges, Micah's idols and the Levite's concubine, show how lawless and how disobedient the people had become. On page 104 in your book, it says the inspired writings of the Hebrews have had an influence on our thought and literature that cannot be measured. And so, once again, just to make it very clear, when we're studying Israel's history, this is not just a religious study. It is truly a study on world history. So, this concludes the first lesson. I'll go ahead and get the rest of them uploaded. And so, good luck on your quiz. If you have any questions, don't forget that there is that subtopic on GroupMe. You can ask any questions there.